Good morning, everyone. So, markets don't care about PCE and consumer sentiment, we'll see. I don't think they're going to make any difference. I'm doing well today, Savos. Thank you. Um, One thing the market cares about is getting beyond these tariffs and everyone trying to figure out what effect they're going to have or not. They're going to have some effect, you know, and then tax cuts, yada, 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 yada. Okay, so a lot of uncertainty, market trying to figure it out. So technically, what do we want to see technically? So earlier in the week, I said this is a terrible kind of a pattern, news driven, and just wasn't one to really rely on to get more aggressive or even, intraday positions. Yesterday was pretty erratic and choppy. It was kind of a go nowhere day, you can see there. However, looking at this chart, sellers took advantage of the little blip up. And so well, this was, I think, the news day, right? 25% tariffs on autos. And technically, okay, big momentum move to the downside. Support is way down here. And it's just been another stair step of grinding lower. And so this is a big momentum move, stair step lower. And this is a little stair step grinder up. So now we've got this reversal pattern right there, wide up. It was the 1, 2, 3. That point is like, okay, the pattern suggests maybe it can go higher and come up to that resistance. News, nope, it ain't gonna happen. And so now we're grinding down, and this mess over here, I think it's relatively insignificant. This is, a concept that I refer to as neutralizing an area. So first of all, this is a wide, whippy back and forth here. Another picture of uncertainty, pivot highs, pivot lows. Prices break down below and they rip right back up again and go through it. Right. So it was utilized as support. It breaks down as resistance. It moves up. And so by observing patterns, that's what we do, as we're learning, observing patterns and reactions and thinking about the widely accepted ideas of support beyond what's directly to the left. And you find many times it really doesn't hold up in a significant way, and it raises questions and uncertainty. So if we just look at this, which I would suggest, that's what I'm going to do anyway, look at this from point of view of it being irrelevant. It's there, so I drew over it so we can't see it in any event. So now what I would like to see, and we always have our wishes as to what would be the ideal scenario to create an opportunity for us. I'd like to see this go down here and break this low. So today's Friday, the tariff thing is next week. We'll see where today ends, but that would be the ideal to get some kind of sell-off going down here and a retest pattern, because when we look at patterns, and so we see something like this I'm looking at the weekly chart here, and that's the momentum move down, a fluid breaking of support, 2 pivot lows. The next support level is down here, and it creates 2 views as to possibilities. Measured move, bringing it down here, somewhere down here, could happen. I think with all the news that's out already, I don't think so. Because there would have probably been some negative reactions to yesterday's news or today's news. The tariff stuff is hanging out there for a while now. People are calculating what the costs are going to be and so on and so forth. So another thing a pattern like this sets up is a momentum, kind of a climactic move. It's far extended here. And it forms a W. So I'm just throwing out ideas. We're actually going to see what happens, but let's assume for the moment this move down that's happening right now continues lower. It's on some support, so there's going to be some buyers there for scalpers, right? And then, from there, we see the 65-minute, no acceleration, right? Typically, a move starts with acceleration, it ends with acceleration. It's going to either end with acceleration lower, or it's going to go sideways, and it's going to bore the hell out of us all day going sideways, building an area of support. So as we get into the next week, all we can do is look at the charts and say, what does this tell me right now? What do I want to do with this? Put call spread pattern, maybe if there's premium, of course, zero DTE. As far as shorting this, support's right here. That really doesn't make much sense. Anyway, so this kind of pattern, what I usually do with it, if it should set up, I don't matter whether it's a daily time frame or an intraday time frame, is that it comes up and it does a retest of a high where it creates a larger resistance area, and that is a high probability shorting pattern. This is not, right? Unless you're willing to give it some kind of large room, it's better to stay away from it and look for other opportunities in stocks or other markets. Well, that's my opinion. Right? Um, Internals, they flipped up from this marginal extreme. That's what I said it at the time. It's a marginal extreme. It's not the kind of thing that, you know, historically would produce the low. Right? Nonetheless, it came extreme enough where we got this close above a prior day's high and this grind. Let's kind of look at it as possibly a bear flag. In technical terms, that's what it would be, a bear flag, where, a break here, which should suggest a move. I'm not a channel guy, I'm more a look to the left kind of guy. Channels and trend lines can whip you around pretty good, but a clear violation of support, which is down here at 5,600, which would be later than using a trend line, but you got to choose your tools, should send things down below there and possibly down below here. So we'll just have to see how it all unfolds, right? But if should that happen, I think then the internals would line up in a way that would present itself with a high probability buying opportunity, which would coincide with the tariffs and everybody screaming, he did it, here it comes, and recession, stagflation, who knows what, so on and so forth. So a lot of thinking, not a lot of action because we don't have actionable patterns but certain stocks obviously do. Qs, semiconductors hitting harder. Similar kind of a pattern on support, similar here on the weekly, similar on the 65-minute, and similar on the 5-minute. Russell, somewhat similar anyway. The up and the down on support, stair stepping down, and so on. It's forming a descending wedge that line guys consider bullish. Which chart are you talking? Because I've been switching. So I don't know which chart you're talking about on the 65-minute. But if you want to type that in there, I can give you a response. But okay, anyway, I can go back to it. But again, line guys that draw trend lines, I affectionately say, I'll tell you where I got this. It really was like a wake up moment for me. And wait, because I was already into the looking to the left thing and trend lines are bullshit and all that. But there was a book, and I've mentioned this in the past for those that have been around for a while. Winner Take All was about a guy that trades commodities, supply, demand, that kind of stuff. And it's like you can't lose because supply demand if your pockets are deep enough. And he said technical analysts are nothing more than grown up people that are still connecting dots in the coloring book their mom gave them as a child. And I'm like, shit, that kind of makes sense. But he was, putting down technical analysis, which was unacceptable to me, because that's what I was utilizing. And I didn't want him to shake up my beliefs, but I was already beyond the connecting dot thing. Um, so ES, when you say forming a descending wedge, I don't even know what you're talking about, as far as that goes. But this is just a momentum move and a grind lower. I don't see any wedges and certainly don't see anything bullish about it whatsoever. All right, let me continue here. Um, Gold, all-time highs, right? Certainty, silver, bring up the rear, right? Popping up there. Mentioned this little buy setup down there. We have our ETF letter in there. Um, and entry, if the 65-minute fails, would it be an entry on the daily? And these are conversations for the green room, but no, the daily's in a downtrend. As I said before, if this was to retest this and get a reversal for me, that's a short. This is a downtrend. This is a downtrend. And unless you get some kind of failure down here, there's no long opportunities here, period. Bitcoin down at the bottom of the wide range bar. Looks like it's going lower. Crude oil, talked about at the beginning of the week. Stall area hasn't broken a prior day's low yet, but stalled at resistance. Declining 50 MA. Starting to form a 65-minute base. We'll see if it breaks down. Odds are what it would do in that area. Interest rates gapping a little lower today from this resistance area. A lot of charts that are just a mess, unfortunately. It'll pass. Uh, Transports I mentioned yesterday showed a little relative strength. We got a little reaction there on the way up. So weak market, we'll see if transports can break these lows, what they're going to do. And let me just look at the cues quickly here. Look at the gap. Right. Little gap down there. You can see the 65-minute on that little green area of support. So, and it's popping up here off of that support. So look, what I am observing is that a market that's nervous and it's grinding its way lower. Um, technical reference points, things are just jiggling around for the most part. But some of the things you want to look at, like this PLTR, right, looked amazing, right? Rounding bottom, like it came down real hard, rounding bottom, and it pops up. Now, market gets a little shaky, sellers exit, and it is what it is. Now, what we want to see is, can this make a turn here on the support? Can this make a turn where this will resume its way up? Tesla, which, buyers were enthusiastic for off of the low, and it was up near the high of the day yesterday. And I was mentioning in the green room, it's like, I want to see where this thing is at the end of the day, because if it closes strong, then it's going to be a go. This is the kind of thing that's, making a bottom in the downtrend, but the pattern, the momentum move, and if it was to form a bullish 180, then we could have a long. But then sellers like, the hell with it, market, and we got a topping tail. So that's still in development mode. It's just rattling around here. Well, you can send me an email if it triggers. I don't know if you're thinking sending me an email if it triggers long. Don't bother because I'll just ignore it. You're telling me long in a downtrend. Anyway, I'm kind of just jigging with you here. Um, spiders bouncing off of the support. You know, yesterday's low, just jiggling around here. All right, so where is it? As it bouncing down to yesterday's low? SPX down to yesterday's low. Nothing was touched yesterday. It was far enough away. You talk 6,500. Now these are the extremes. Once things get moving, you pick your spots, and we did that yesterday in the room with different areas where we looked for turns. One of them, there were a few. One of them was down here when I said, let's see if this big red bar doesn't follow through, that it was on this support area there. And you say, well, why would you think that with such a bearish bar? Because that's what this market's been doing, jiggling things one way and taking it the other way. All right. Moving it lower. This should be a no-brainer. Maybe even to get a little closer than this. Like I said, these are extremes. You could do the extremes. You just got to do them wide. 57. All right. All right. Well, Friday, news next week. Well, consumer sentiments at 10 o'clock, unless that is some number that is like way out of whack as to what is being expected, which I can tell you consumer sentiment is 57.9 and 5-year 3.9. So you can keep that in mind for 10 o'clock. But I think just like PCE, nobody's going to give a darn unless something is way out of whack. Right? There's going to be a lot of jiggles. All right. So, Dan, I don't know if you can type in there anything that I should be covering. He was checking. Let's see what opens are. I typed into subscribers yesterday. And this looks great. Probably time to exit the rest of it. And definitely raise the stop. And this one, markets are down a little bit, so I don't think it's going to trigger. I got an alert. I wanted to see if this would move above, the prior day's high as an ad. Right? This was up near the high of the day yesterday, and you always got to wait till near the end of the time period to know where a bar is going to close. So I was thinking I still have the alert to see if it'll trade above that high. You see the move down, the retest pattern, this bottoming tail bar that took out the low, a little correction continuation pattern, and it's just been marking time as the market's moved lower. So it's been showing relative strength. Now, idea about the market moving lower doesn't line up with this thing going higher, but we'll just have to see what lays out. Docu, never liked it much as an idea, and it's probably not near the stop, which is down here, but unless it has a miracle recovery, I just don't like it at all. And I'm just looking at other opens here. This one is just sloppy, but it's okay. This improved yesterday. You know, it was a little bit higher. Now looks like it's gapping down a little bit. It looks so great over here, sideways into the rising 20, the move up. And now that it's pulled back, it needs to go up, right? So it might be a victim of the market. It's a bullish pattern. It's in an uptrend. Sometimes bullish stocks don't continue higher because of a market environment. HE, sloppy, but looks okay. And this one looks great. Right? It should continue higher, uptrend, pivot, pivot. Was continuation yesterday. So was a previous long. There's money in it. Stops have been raced. This needs oil to decline from that resistance, or it's going to get stopped out. So just because something's extended lower, if things form patterns that suggest they're going to do something. Right? Now, suggesting something is going to go up, right, is fine, but it's in a downtrend. It's extended. It can become more extended. So sometimes they work out great. This one isn't. But if oil begins to drop from that area, that's resistance area, it should help airlines, which, not all of them look bad, but in this one, the ETF does not look good at all. We looked at PLTR and INIO. Q. Another bottoming pattern. Stop is far enough away. So we'll just have to see if it can lift up or not. And X I saw was up this morning. It was up earlier. Now it's backing off. Where is it? Where is this? Where did my cursor? 47. Oh, it's up there. Okay. So this wasn't a long, it was naked puts, which can close that out for nothing. And so this one is moving up. It's long from 98.55. No, what am I talking? That's not 36 and a quarter. So this has got a nice profit in it. Let's see if Dan brought the stop under. Stop is at 37.47. So a little bit under today's low, but it's a wide range bar. Let's see if it'll continue to move up. Did I speak too soon? Oh, Dan is like halfway back. Frenchy, halfway back. All right. So those are most of the opens. And let's see. And I don't think there's too many weekly credit spreads because it just hasn't been a market environment for credit spreads. What's Netflix doing here this morning? So that's good. That's good. Down a little bit, expiring today. The 110, 115 bear call spread. That should be going out worthless. Maybe close it for 2 cents or what have you. Yeah, bid 2 cents. And HUM, bear put credit spread. Still on Netflix. The resistance there, 260. Expiring today. That should be go out worthless. So overall, sloppy, disgusting market, but most positions doing pretty decent there. Um, Take a peek at FANG stocks before the market opens here. Markets popped up to resistance and stalled. I'm just looking at another monitor there. Apple, I have to see what it's doing, but we got a little bit of a bear sandwich there. So if things find some buyers, maybe that can go up toward the 50. I'll keep an eye on that. Google pulling back to support. Overall, everything just sort of marking time. And most of these that we looked at for credit spreads, they had no premium. It's because, the way things have been just jiggling around here. But semiconductors getting, beat up. It started with NVIDIA a few days ago, but Broadcom breaking down, closing under the 200, likely going to come down here. Costco, take a look what that's doing. I've set an alert under today's low. Maybe it goes up. We'll see. Walmart doing nothing. JP Morgan starting to pull back a little. There's the Netflix. I mentioned Tesla getting a rejection. Just a lot of waiting. NVIDIA moving down, but it just stalled yesterday. Look at the little tiny, you know, candle body there, slowing momentum. Doesn't mean it's going to go up. Um, just look at the 15-minute charts to see anything there. So it was a lot of, sideways yesterday, whippy price action, and so on. So, all right, I'm going to close this platform down so I can open up on the other one, and I'll switch to the other charts. Open up. So give me a second here. E-signal takes, I don't know, seems like forever, but maybe 15, 20 seconds to shut it down. And then to open it up again takes a little bit. You can see here pre-market what's going on. It's just ping pong, as I call it. Directionless. Still waiting for it to close. Come on. I can open. Yeah. No. Spider's gapping down to support. Check here. See if the buyers want to step up there. This is what I have to do each day when Dan starts talking to switch systems. Dan's logged in, just typing. IWM on that support down there. No, it's down. So on a 5 minute chart, it's down a whole bunch of bars in a row, which would suggest it'll try and hold, even if it breaks the lows there. And so these gaps are, well, not that big. Let's see here. Not that big historically. STZ should trigger. Tesla breaking lower. Well, it's not that far away. Looked yesterday for call spread as it started to form that. I just don't think there's going to be any juice for today, and it's just not worth going out to next week with this tariff news coming. Want to be on the above yesterday's high, and that ain't going to happen. But yeah, watch PLTR for a turn. It's coming down to the 20 there in support. Uh, Best Buy. Got to look at it intraday, but it could be a short under the 5 minute low. Is it 5 minutes yet? No. Look at BBBY, BBY. Was it? Yeah, BBY. Remember, there used to be a BBBY, Bed Bath and Beyond. They're gone. Stop above yesterday's high. Makes 8 cent spread. Not a big deal. Probably can get filled on the offer that it's stalled here. I don't like biotech, and what you know, that is a wild stock. I don't know that he can hear me. The better way to, if you think this is going to go down, is probably to buy a put. Probably would be, I don't know, spready, but that stock tends to be wild. Makes some wild moves. So, and it's a biotech, not for me. You got to go out to next week if you're going to consider to buy a put, of course. Uber or Uber, however you call it. Keep an eye on that. Forming a buy setup. Stays young. Trigger above yesterday's high. Nvidia finding a few buyers here. Nothing of significance. Actually, I'd love to see it come back down to short it based on the daily. But now that it's popped up, if it'll go sideways there and break today's low. So keep an eye on that. SMHs coming up a little bit. Got to set an alert on the video because I'm not going to watch it. I think I'll just put a sell stop under today's low, under yesterday's low. Yeah, it's coming up pretty good into resistance. Anyway, let's see what it does. I set the alert. Apple doing nothing, bouncing a little bit on the gap down, but inside of yesterday's, those last 3 days ranges. KIE looks great. It's in the ETF letter. I mentioned Cisco yesterday. Alex, did it trigger? I didn't get an alert. Yeah, above today, yesterday's high, Cisco. I mean, I would, whatever. If it triggers today, great. I would love an inside day and for it to trigger Monday. IWM move breaking lower here. Second. Do you know Cisco's last name? No idea. I didn't know. Why? Going in the right direction? Downtrend, little bear flagish thing into the declining 20 MA, 4 days going sideways. Go down. Angels giving back here. Come on. Keyboard. 5 minute chart. PayPal getting shellacked on that news. That's the holding for the moment. Damn, Lex Huber. Didn't like it the other day when I talking about it over here. Anyway, he can't hear. He can't hear me. I think so. I just mentioned that a little while ago. You hear now? I said it is a kind of pattern that's likely to develop. Pointed out the negatives, but overall, plenty of positives. And I think the only thing that'll foil it is the market falling apart. Because when the market falls apart, even buyers that are positive on something, they just back away and say, hey, it'll get cheaper. Tesla coming back up off of the low. I just think this thing is going to develop. So I have it in a thumbnail. I think it's going to set up eventually. We'll see. If it goes sideways here and starts to move higher, I'm thinking it is going to continue to move higher. But course, it's got to hold